Okay, so we are live. I am so sorry. I was sitting here talking to myself. I didn't realize that there were two buttons that you had to press to go live. And so I was like, can you guys hear me? Press one in the chat. Like I'm trying to sit here, do all the things, and I'm going, oh my God. All right, so now I do see that we are live, and there's this like red box in the top corner that says live, and it starts ticking down. And so, listen, I'm gonna start getting used to all these things. And so the title of my live today is Old School Chat. And so I wanted to bring you guys together today so that we could talk a little bit about some old school things and things of how I was raised back in the day in New York and all Lexi, Black Rose 11. Oh my God, Nabul. Hi, all of you guys. And I actually just opened it up on my phone. Capone. Black Rose 11. Hang on. Oh my God. So there you go. That is one thing that some some of like the streamers do is like you guys we open up on the phone, right? No, listen, I'm calling myself a streamer already. I don't even want to get ahead of myself here, okay? This is crazy. Des, hi. So listen, I wanted to open it up on my phone so I could see the chat because I was looking at the first live that I did, which I'm sure everybody does, right? Like we all critique ourselves a little bit. So I definitely wanted to see what I did wrong and all the things. And so I said, "Oh my God, there were so many people that I didn't say hello to and that I didn't, so I wanted to open up the chat on the phone and see it. And so hi to everybody that's coming in and I really appreciate all of you guys and hello. And so, yes, old school back in the city, growing up in one of the boroughs, it was such an awesome way of being raised, right? And so I just thought, how cool would it be to like have a second live to talk about a little bit about New York City and growing up there and being a kid of that generation, right? And so, I was talking to my dad the other day, and we were talking about, like how he was the coach of baseball, and I was a girl on an all boys baseball team. But the boys were, I had my brother, I had all of the boys, and so they never treated me any differently, which was always great. And so I played just as hard as the boys did, maybe not as hard, but it was a great experience as a girl to be able to play on an all boy, but that was the city, right? That was Brooklyn, that was growing up in New York, that was what it was like. And so I feel as though being a part of a community is always important, right? And as a New Yorker and as a kid that grew up in one of the five boroughs, it was always, whether you were part of football, baseball, basketball, a sport, dancing, anything that your parents got you involved in back then was a part of the community, and my family was always involved in a lot of activities and things like that. And so I said, what great thing to talk about, but all of those things. And so old school, what does it mean to you? What does it mean to me? It means a lot of different things. And so I just thought it would be really fun to talk about that type of stuff. Oh my God, Kitty Q, hi you guys. Turd Ferguson, I heard you were super fantabulous with music. I need you to shoot me some of your videos over. I need to actually hear some of your songs. So, yeah, let's see what else. New York, old school. Like the games and things. Like I know my dad played games back in the day like Skelsy. They like, like him and all of his friends and his, brothers and sisters would talk about all these different, like I guess where I'm going with this is that we spent a lot of time in New York like outside and doing things and being active and like my family, like my dad and everybody, like they sang doo-wops and they sang outside, and that's what they did. And so like they would all just, let me lower this music. I have a little background music on, but let me. So, like what did that mean to me? That meant to me like family. That meant like Sunday family dinners. We had all of those things, right? In New York, you have all of like your families live on the same block or they live a couple of blocks away. Everybody gets together. You see everybody on the holidays, right? And so everybody, is there. And what a great way to be, and so I wanted to share a little bit about who I was and what I was around as a kid and stuff. And yes, it's definitely, hang on here. sorry, I put a soup on before, so it's been raining down where I am, and the weather has been just kind of not so great. And so I put a chicken noodle soup on and I was like, "You know what? Let's go live." Like now I can see why people just go live. I was like, this is going to be great. Yeah, Sunday is meatball day. It is absolutely meatball day. Like, I grew up in a household where, mom made macaroni sauce. Like, that's just what it was. And so everybody gathered around in the afternoon and we had, Sunday gravy. That's just what it was. And, you know, structure, family, love, like that to me is everything. And so that goes into more of like morals and the values and just all of the community things that is important to the old school. And you know talking a little bit about like the music and like I just remembered like listening on the drive home, like coming back from like my grandmother's house. And if we would go into the city, like when we moved to the island and I was a little bit older. And so we would go into the city to go see my grandparents or whatever. And we would listen, my father would drive home and we would have Cousin Brucey on in the radio and you would hear the same thing on this, because we would leave at the same time on a Sunday to go home and you would just hear Cousin Brucey and then the oldies music. And so like you grew up in a time where you would hear certain things and so you knew like your childhood, like I relate to so many people when we talk and say, oh yeah, I'm from New York because ba ba ba, or I grew up in that time. And so it was, yeah, like it just was such a fun time to grow up. Like, I mean, running around, I remember playing like tag and freeze and, all the cousins would come around and, we'd all be running around and doing things. And so like, just a lot of stuff, just so much fun. Yeah. I mean, guys, hit that like button. I know I'm always in the chat going, hit the like and subscribe and do all the cool things. Yeah. Flashlight tag. Oh my God, melting the crayon into the bottle cap. Exactly right. I mean, there were so many things that like I think as kids, back in the day when there wasn't really, and I don't want to, maybe it was the depression or whatever, but like I think that people were so, into crafts and things to stay busy or just to, I mean, how melting crayons into caps, but it was very unique, you know what I mean? And so, if you look at New York now, it's so artsy and so creative. There's so much fun stuff that goes on in the city. And so like I want to remember that. Like I try to remember all of the good. And so when people say like, the world is changing, and I said, yeah, the world is changing. And I'm absolutely aware of current events and things that are going on. Don't get me wrong. But I, in my heart, want the old school back. And listen, there were things that happened in the old school too. I am not, naive in knowing that, but I do want the good times and the good, do you guys like, I don't know if you guys remember, like, you remember those little like huggy drinks? They were like 25 cents. We could call them like 25-cent drinks. I remember like being a kid and some of the older kids would go and get like a Lucy cigarette for like 50 cents or whatever. They were like the weirdest things in these bodegas. And so, growing up in the city, what was that like? Like, we would play double dutch in the street and just, you'd run around and so like that was that was New York. That was growing up in New York. And so going in the parks and just running around with your friends and your cousins and your aunts and your uncles. Like I have a million aunts and uncles, and they're all, you know, just young and just it was just what a great time. This is my nostalgia channel. I moved away and I miss New York and New Jersey and growing up on the same block as all of my cousins. Exactly. Same here. And what an what a what an awesome way to be raised, right? Like I see people that they'll say like, "Oh, I don't know my family," or they live in another country, and I'm like, "Damn, what is that like?" And how does that make you feel? Because I pause for a second and I think like, and now I know why people go on a lot of vacations to go and see their families and stuff is because they didn't grow up with them or they didn't have them down the street or could go on a Sunday dinner. But, so I had all of that. And I love to talk about it because, like, listen, we had the things and the bags of the little tiny bags of snacks, like the little Dorito bags and like the little things that you just remember from your childhood, like sitting on a stoop. Like some people go, what the hell is a stoop? But I mean, we didn't know it. Like that's where you hung out. You hung out on your stoop outside. And I remember like we could see the skyline, the New York City skyline outside from where I lived. And so like I remembered seeing like the towers from outside the house. And so, you remember all of the things and just life was so different, but it's just part of your life. And then, you had all like there were so many different businesses and stores and everybody supported everybody in the neighborhood, right? So, you would go in the neighborhood, you would shop, you would do your grocery shopping at the little market, or you go to like Key Food, or just so and so would have a his uncle would have a Greek restaurant on the corner, or that somebody's grandmother would have a pharmacy, or it was just everybody had something in the neighborhood, and it was just everybody knew everybody. And so that was just another part of like old school and growing up. And that was a really cool part of, oh my god, Joey Brooklyn, you remember climbing fences, brother, like just what a crazy, awesome. Adam drives Helen. Yes. What's up, buddy? Hi. Lexi, Kitty Q. I see all of you guys coming in. I mean, you remember like ice cream on the corner, and oh my God, Mr. Softy would come through the neighborhood. And I always laugh because I always remember the Eddie Murphy skit where he's like, Ma, throw down some money. And I always, because everybody can always relate to screaming outside, and you hear dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, and you're like, ice cream man is coming. And I mean, listen, my grandfather always had a stash of ice cream in the back of the freezer, and it didn't like he would sneak it to us and we'd give it to us. But when the ice cream man came, it was like, oh my God, everybody froze and the ice cream man was coming. So it was probably, yeah, playing manhunt, all of the crazy things, right? And so these are all things that relate to like the old school. And I freaking love it. I sit and laugh. Like even like walking around town and seeing people that are from New York, and then you stop and they're having conversations, and you just drop like a little, I'll drop a little like conversation with somebody, and it lights up their whole day because they remember back in the day in whatever era that they were born. And like I could relate, so I remember on a Saturday, like one of my cousins, my uncle, he would go to a market every Saturday, and he would get the meat for the week or the whatever the month. And he had this list, and all of the things that my aunt would write down, he would go and purchase all of these things. And then he would come home, and then the cooking would start. And it was going from Saturday into Sunday, and all of the different foods. And I mean, it was just, and we had everything we could ever, and so you had all of the different, they would get all the different cold cuts for the week. We planned out, well, my mom and her, brothers and sisters, like all of them, they would all plan out what they would make for the lunches for the weeks. And, they were all very, very regimented and very, I think it's just what the old school did. And, they were very structured, and that was old school. And so everybody just had a way, right? And so, hi Melanie, how are you? Good to see you. I just, there's something that I love about like how each one of us grew up, and I love to share like these little things, right? Just so fun, like the Eddie Murphy thing gets me every time. Mom, throw down. Oh, one day I'm gonna get my brother to come up here. He is so funny. I would love, and Joey, I would love for you to get up here too. and share some stories. Joey does these fireside chats. Joey, you have to drop your link. Joey will sit there. He will just throw back and just like what I'm doing right now. He just talks, and you can reminisce, talk about the old, and what I love too is like the old school music and things. And now they have like these little bands and stuff that they'll do with the like the old doo-wops or the disco of the yesteryears. And I listen and I go, oh my God, that sounds just like, so and so or whatever. And it's so funny because right. I remember the Caribbean bakery by my dad's house. Right. Exactly. Things like that. Like you just remember something from your childhood where you're like, oh man, that freaking cannoli or that cream puff that I had. Like I remember like going to the supermarket and getting the sprinkle cookie, and I had like whether I wanted it or not. I'm sure I always wanted it. Let's not be but they always gave you something from the bakery as a kid, right? Like they had a cookie for you. Like we had a certain bakery we would always go to, and my father always had all the cakes made from there. My grandfather always had, he, knew somebody that was going to do, whatever. We always had a certain caterer that we used, part of being a part of a community, a part of a neighborhood. It was just always supporting each other. I love that. I just love that. My best years were the late 1980s. Yes, the sprinkle cookies. Miss Shorty. Hi. Oh my God, I love her channel too. She breaks down a lot of like, oh, true crime. Even I watched an awesome live that you did the other night with autism. I just love her channel. You have a great channel. So thank you so much for being here. I'm honored to have you here. So Adam Drives Helen, that's his other half. Love him. He's one of my favorites too. And so just, like good people, I'm all about trying to bring good people together. I also remember a time back in the day where we would have big parties. Like my family always had a lot of parties. And so I said, like, we came from big family, and so we always had like not like a VFW hall, but like a place, like I can't think of the name of it, but like we had a hall in the neighborhood. And so every time there was a confirmation or communion or a birthday party, a retirement, anything, you name it, you could give my grandmother a reason for a party, and she threw it. She threw a party, and everybody was there. Everybody came out, celebrated. I had we had the best, I have the best family members, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it was funny people. I had a cousin, he used to sell lighters in a jacket, like just funny. And I mean, I think back now and I go, what the hell was he doing? Just the people were so fun. And so I sit back now and I go, Jesus Christ. But like, they just did things that were, my grandmother, she was always involved in the neighborhood. She was always doing things, helping people. Just freaking miss her. Like, what a good lady, just such a, yeah, exactly. Block parties. We had block parties that would go for hours and hours, and people would come together, and it was partying, dancing, eating, drinking. I mean, all of the things. And the community would just come together. We'd have the police would be there. I mean, everybody was there. Everybody was partying. Everybody was friends. That's just what it was. It was old school. Everybody came out. They had remember those old school, like plastic chairs. Everybody would sit on them. I just remembered, like, the guys would always be dressed, and they'd have their little, I don't know, what, like the Lacoste shirts. I laugh now because, like, sometimes, listen, I just went to the store before to go get a couple of things, and this guy walked past me, and he must have had like a whole bottle of cologne on, and I was like, it's probably, what was that cologne that the guys wore back in the day? Drakkar. And that's what it smelled like. Yeah, Joey, you're sitting on one of those chairs now. Exactly. This guy had like a half a bottle of Drakkar on, and I was like, all right, that's it. My next live is about the old school, because this guy was literally out of an IROC Z with Drakkar on. And it was, like some people down here, they try to preserve that life that they had. And I love that. I could never take that from somebody. I think it's adorable. I think it's, listen, hashtag do it. Just, you know, if that's something that they remember in their life and they love it, I'm about it. I think embrace it, be that. Listen, what's the other side of it? All the other garbage things that people are doing out there. Listen, wear your car and listen, the big necklaces and the chains. I love that. I see the guys and they listen. They wear that. They go downtown. They're sitting there. They're with their girlfriend or their wife, and they're wearing their chain, and they look good and they smell good, and the women look beautiful. They have their hair done. Their makeup is very light. It's not crazy. Their nails are manicured. They look really pretty, and they're having a good time. That to me is old school. That is, they're just having fun. And so I love when I see that, right? Pierre Cardin, Paco Rabanne, like hit the like button. While there's a Chick-fil-A commercial, I cannot with Chick-fil-A. It's just so, listen, old school barbecue. I mean, I remember old school barbecue with, I'll go back to like where they would sing the doo-wops. They would, there'd be coolers and coolers of beers and things and just, fun times. Like everybody would just be hanging out. There'd be food flying all over the place and just people having a good time. The lights were on, like it would get dark out and the backyard would be lit. Everybody would be having fun. I love that kind of stuff. And so like I try to preserve life that way. And so moving into my life and doing things, I love to stay fun. I love to do things. I love to go places and be positive. And so that's what I think life is about. So, when I start to see people going the other way, I'm like, hey, come on over here, because, there's so many cool things that, we could do. And so, focus on the good things. So, I don't like the dark side. If you say like go to the dark side, I don't like the dark side. So come over here. So damn, even here in France, I miss old cookies, old perfumes we can't find anymore. I'm old school. See? Exactly. Listen, I remember there were these like little perfumes that even when I was a kid that, we got stuck on. And for whatever it was, I mean, what were they? I mean, CK1. Oh my God. Let me think. Ladies, what were some of the Ernie Birdie? Hi. Oh my God. Let me see. This is where I have to get the phone keeps shutting it off. So hang on. There was that exclamation perfume. It was like a white bottle with a black top on it. I mean, that was like an obnoxious, stupid thing, but I had to have it because I don't know if maybe it was just the bottle looked fun, but insane. I collected the Avon sample perfumes. You're right, exactly. Like I'm sure every mother I think my mom sold them. I remember getting like little Avon earrings, like all of the little things, right? Avon. Oh my God. I remember Avon. Princess Mitch. Oh my God. I didn't want you. I just saw you come in. Yeah. So old school. I mean, when did we grow up to like Carvel? Did that one went from like Mr. Softy to Carvel? I don't know. Maybe that was more of like a Long Island thing, but I don't remember really having. Maybe Carvel was more of like, oh my God, they're gonna get like an ice cream cake or something. Those were like more for like fancy parties. But we had like a bakery that made like fancy cakes for, baptisms and christenings and you had like your guy that made the cakes. And so, they always came from like a fancy bakery or the bakery in town always did those things. And what about pizza? Oh my God. I think now like I would love to just take a plane up there just to go have a slice of pizza. I mean, I have a slice of pizza down here and I'm like, it's all right. I mean, it's nothing Like, oh my God. Or when somebody says to me, oh my God, Dawn Marie, we got to go to this place. It's so good. It's just like New York. And I'm like, uh-huh. And what am I going to say? Like, I mean, I'm not rude. And so I'm like, oh, it's good. It's all right. I mean, it's not New York. I mean, I'm honest, right? And so, because it's the water here, it's okay. I'm not, but it's not New York. It doesn't have like that thin crust where it crisps, and it snaps in your mouth. Like, it's not, but I would love to just get on a plane and just fly up there. Like, I just think, like, when I pass the airport down here, I'm like, what's it like to just pull over and just hop on a plane and go have some pizza and come back? What's that like? I would love that. That would be fun. Oh, Navul, just yesterday, a video of you, Ron, and Joey showed up at 5 after. You guys are in the bar having a drink. Oh my God. Yes, I remember that. That was a long time ago. Those are the days. Yeah, Capone, real pizza. Like, what the? Hi, Princess Misha, tell your husband I said hello. I mean, real pizza. I just, like, there's little things that you're like, you just miss that. And I think to myself, it's such a stupid thing. People are like, it's just pizza. No, it's not. It's more than just pizza. Like, I want that. Like, sometimes when somebody in New York will FaceTime me or whatever, and I'm like, really? You have to FaceTime me from inside there? Really? I'm going to hang up now. And I get so annoyed, but it's funny, because I love it. I love to see, and even when I get to go up there, I'm like, the first thing I think of is when I'm like, all right, who's taking me for a bagel? Or where, like, I don't know why food is like the first thing you relate to, for me, at least. I think of when I go to New York, I'm like, oh, where am I going to go to for dinner tonight? Where am I going to get a bagel from tomorrow? It's probably so bad. Like, I eat my way through my whole, even if I'm there for like 3 days, I got to figure out, like, you know, Karen Solak. Hi. Oh my God. It's good to see you. Happy Saturday. I miss real pizza. I eat calzones here. It's not as bad as the pizza. Right. I mean, a calzone. All right. So it's got the ricotta cheese in it. All right. I mean, you know, you could slimy on a calzone, but not a slice of pizza. It's like pizza. It's pizza. I don't know. Like a dish of macaroni. I mean, yeah, listen, where I am, there are some really great Italian restaurants that I could go to, and they do. There's even a restaurant that flies in the bread, on a daily basis, and I can respect that and I like that. But there's nothing like sitting in the city, right? And going to the feast, or listen, walking around in Little Italy 24/7 is the feast right there. Look, thanks for getting me hungry before I go out to dinner. I know. Listen, I could talk about food all day long. That's a New York thing. I won't go back to that. That's such a New York thing, is to talk about food all the time. All the time, talking about food is New York. But like going to sporting events. Sporting events is a big thing in New York too. Like, all the things that, because it's 4 seasons, right? So you have winter, spring, summer, fall. And so whether you're going to a Giants or a Jets game, or, if you've scheduled to go to an Islanders or a Rangers game in New York, you're getting ready to go with your friends or your family, a Knicks game, you've got your Knicks tickets, or, I mean, listen, a Yankees or a Mets game, you're constantly scheduling for a sporting event when you're in New York. You have opportunities to go to Broadway plays when you're there. There's so much fun things you can do, right? And so even old school, like we did a lot of that stuff. Old school too. Like I remember growing up and going and, driving around in the cars and listening to all the different like freestyle music. And, listen, we would do all of the fun things, and Hairspray, listen, the Sergio Tacchini outfits, okay? Hot doggers, all the different. What's up, Gen X? Good to see you. Like the different clothing that we wore back in the day, just penny loafers, different high heels, shoes that you would squeeze, like just all of very fashionable. New York is very, very fashion, very, just all the things. Like I wore a lot of, we had a lot of jewelry back then, like you didn't go out at night if you were not dressed to the nines. You had your hair done, you had your makeup was on, not a full like messy face, but a very crisp, clean, beautiful face of, little mascara, some lipstick, lip gloss, uh, you know, but you had your jewelry on. You had all of everything was you had your shirt, your pants, you were pressed, you looked nice, and you went out. You went out for the evening, you went out for the night. No matter if you were just going to the roller rink, if you were going to the movies, you got you got dressed up. That's just, that was in New York. That was what we did in the city. And we did it on the island too, like even as we were kids and we were it was never a time where I didn't go out with, just even if I wore a pair of jeans and you know, a sweatshirt, you still looked presentable. You still did all the things, right? It was just that was what we did, right? So yeah, big hair, Aquanet, I know. Z Cavaricci's. Oh my God. I think I drove my mother nuts over Z Cavaricci's and what was it? Oh, Skids pants. Z Cavaricci's. I had them in almost every color. And EG socks. I'll never forget my mother having to go to the flea market, and I must have drove her bazonkers because I had to have a certain kind of socks and they had to have a certain scrunch to them, and oh my God, scrunchies for the hair. Like even the guys had a certain code of what they wore too. And guys too, they wore gel, they had a certain kind of thing for their hair. It was wild back in the day. Back in the day. That was, and like I said, even like back in New York, like you had your teams, you had your car. Like guys had their car. It was a muscle car. It was, they had that was it. They had their wheels. They would take it to the car wash all the time. They washed it, they waxed it. It was their pride and joy. They took care of their cars. And so that's just what it is. It's what it was. It's still today what it is. No matter what kind of car they had, they took care of their cars. Period. I graduated in 1969, Salem cigarette milk for 25 cents. See, that's big. My mama sent me in tough skin jeans. Yeah, I mean, listen, that I just think like everybody has a different part of how they were raised and just what you yeah, my mom wouldn't buy me Guess jeans or Benetton sweaters. She thought the money was ridiculous. And you know what? My mom did too. And so like I would try to work it off and I would run around the house and I would do all these different chores and I would say, I want to get another pair of pants. And she'd be like, you're kidding, right? And I'm like, oh man, I look back now and I'm like, oh my God, what the hell? There wasn't anything like, I don't think there wasn't anything that us kids, we like traded a lot. Like a lot of us friends, we shared. It was really, I don't know. It's weird. Princess Mish, have a good weekend. Um, 1980 McDonald's hamburger, 38 cents, right? Those were the days. Oh my God. Yeah, Calvin Klein. I mean, just what a whole different, had to haves, gotta have, and now I don't know. Now I live in my mind where, listen, I love nice things, don't get me wrong, but I'm very like, okay, we don't need that, or you can put that back. Oh, like, oh my God. Everything was so much better back then. Yeah, I mean, everything had its, that's why I say like I would love to go back into those days, but like here, Michael Jackson's on. Like, remember Boombox? I remember having a Boombox and like it was colorful and just I mean, decorating my bedroom was like a thing growing up as a kid. I had to have like posters. And now I'm like such a minimalist. I'm like, oh my God, that's tacky. Take that down. That does not look good. Like I remembered somebody like a few years ago had showed me something here on the internet. And I wasn't trying to judge at all, but I couldn't get the scheme out of my head because it was like all over the place and everything was just ugh. And I was like, "No, because that's very like that's a lot, and you don't it's very, I don't like messy, and so that's not very New York." Members only jackets and glacier sunglasses. Oh man, members only. Yes, that was definitely a thing. Ked sneakers. You remember white Ked sneakers? I had the tie lace ones and the slip-on ones. Oh my god. Yeah, your mom always wore dresses. No, my mom didn't. I don't know. Like maybe no, they did. Yeah, they did. They did. Like running around, like just a lot of running around in the city, like I just remembered like, like my mom had a car, but like let's be real, like we walked everywhere. You remember alternate side of the street parking was a thing back then. And so even though like we had a house and we parked in front of the house, but like if you moved or you went to the store, it was, oh my god, we didn't know if we were going to get a parking spot in the neighborhood. So like you had to worry about if you parked like in the next, who knows where, but like, oh my god, it was such a pain in the ass because, you'd either, like, park across the street or 3 blocks down, or I just remember my grandmother going outside and going, "Look outside and see if there's a parking spot." Like, oh my god, you drive around the block, like, for what felt like 3 hours. Hang on, I'll be right back. I gotta go, stir my soup. Joey Brooklyn. The boys in my high school wore bugle boy pants, OP shirts, and Vans. Period. Yeah, I mean, listen, but like everybody stuck to something, right? Like there was always like some sort of a code or for, listen, for the first part of my few years of going to school, I went to Catholic school, and so like we didn't have a dress code. So I remembered like, you know, we went to Catholic school, and so we didn't have like, and so when I moved to the island, like I remembered going, what in the, everybody had different, clothes on and everything. And I mean, I was just, we had like sweatpants and a sweatshirt. Like, I remember saying to my mother, like, you have to take me to the mall because I need clothes. I can't go to school like this. And so it was culture shock, right? And so, I mean, it was reality though, too. But I mean, when you're a kid, you want to fit in and you want to. And so we went, I listened, there was no qualms about it. We went to the mall, we did all the shopping, we got all of the things. And so, it's not, it was whatever, but it was definitely culture shock because you go from being everybody wears a uniform, everyone looks the same to, kids are wearing all different things. And so, you get used to it, but it was definitely a different way of life. And hi, mom of six, good to see you. Welcome in. We're talking about a little bit of the old school and, growing up in New York. Yeah, we had a drive-in movie theater on the island too. I don't know that I remember going to it. I don't, maybe once. We did have a movie theater that we went to. 90210 Luke Perry look. We were obsessed with looking like the kids in Cali, how the tables turn. Yeah, it's just always God, I remember like even being a kid and like having like certain groups that I loved and different music and oh my God, like going to the different clubs and I mean dancing and going to I mean, being around DJs and just listening to music all the time, right? And going out and for clubbing, right? So like I was big into clubbing back in the day. And so we would go out, we would dance, we would, till 3, 4 in the morning. And then I would go home, I would take a shower and I would get ready and go to work the next day. Like how I did it, I don't know. I could never do it now. But I laugh and I say to myself, I did it and I did it and I just kept going and going and the energy you have when you're a kid, right? And so you just but New York just listen, I'm not saying I'm sure I was very tired, but like, I don't know, it's this thing where you'd have like an egg sandwich the next day from like the deli and a Yoo-hoo. Like I laughed yesterday because I said, Jimmy the hot dog man, and you get two hot dogs and a Yoo-hoo because that's just, you always knew where your guy was, right? And so you knew you had your hot dog guy over here, or you had your, whoever was over here. And so like you had your people all over. Like, who says they had a hot dog guy? Like, you knew a guy. And so you had a jewelry guy, you had that's just, I love when I see people talking about those kind of things because these are real. This is the old school. Me too, Dormery. Don't know how I worked after 2 hours sleep. I know, Karen, it's wild. It's so I don't know that I could even lay down for 2 hours because I probably wouldn't wake up. So I thought I would take a shower, and then I would just go to work. And so I could never do that now. And then I remember just like eating like a bite of ice cold rice, like Chinese food or fried rice the next day to like wake up and shock my system and just, I don't know. Or somebody got me like a hot egg sandwich from somewhere, and we just rolled into the next day. I don't know. Like I think back now, and like I tell stories. How did I do it? Like I just laugh because I think it's great. I used to go to the Fun House, Limelight, Bedrock, the Tunnel. Oh my God, Pastels, Crystal City, Channel 80 nightclubs. Exactly. All of those places, Joey, So all of these places that we went to were just like it was just the where it made us who we are. I used to think like had so much fun growing up in the city and partying and dancing and meeting people and going out. Still here listening and lurking while yes, I love that you guys are here. And listen, I watch a lot of lives, and I don't know that I lurk. Yeah, I do. I watch a lot of things because I listen throughout the day because I work. So I listen to a lot of different lives, and I'll put my phone down and I have the headphones on and I listen. I try to participate when I can. And so, I love it. And, moderating, I have, when they say you have a wrench, I don't even want to talk about this conversation because it's been so ah it's helping the community, right? Is a wonderful thing. And so like, and I'm so honored to do it in some great places, really some great places. And yeah. Subscribe to Miss Shorty. You guys can drop her link in here. You have to subscribe to Miss Shorty. She's really good. Hang on here. I'm going to add you as a mod so you could drop your own link in case it's not. Yeah, Gen X too. She's awesome. She moderates for Vinnie Politan, and what a great dude he is. Like I don't even give him like I talked a little bit about him, but I secretly I absolutely adore him because not only was he a prosecutor, he's from Jersey. I'm pretty sure he was into the same limelight type of lifestyle, if I'm not mistaken, Joey, right? Like he came from up north, and I love listening to him because he tells a story. Listen, he was a prosecutor. I'm all set. I think somebody like Vinny tells a story, and he did it for a living for how many years. And so I commend somebody like Vinny. I just think that when he does his crime stories, like he just gives it out. Like he just does it. And so I respect that because he has his perspective also. Some people like it, some people don't. I like it. I think that he does a great job in telling a story, and I appreciate it. And so Gen X, I appreciate you for, a lot of times when you moderate, you're not just you're greeting people, but you're kind of navigating the chat for the actual for the for the live streamer, for the actual the person that's doing the channel. And so it means a lot for the people in the chat. And so like I always downplay it because of what I do, but oh my God, the Bryan clan, how are you? Oh my God, amazing aunt. Dude, I was just talking about you yesterday. Talk about an amazing person right there. She is a sergeant in the NYPD. I want to pick your brain one day. I wish I would have did what you do. What a cool person. there's just there's just so many people that make up this community that just kick ass, and you are one of them. So thank you for what you do. You gets takes a link, gets up there, talks to Judy Ron. She's an equal. There's a saying in my industry and what I do of, never above you, never below you, always by your side. And I stand by that because and I just, as a human, I feel as though that's very important to me as a person, to be that no matter what profession you're in, it's very important to have, equals. And so I love that. Like Ron was a detective, sergeant, she's a sergeant, and they work together, and I love that because there's such a harmony. And listen, there's so much to be said about the NYPD, and I have family in it, and it's great, and I love it because, listen, that's a hard ass job. Let's be real. And I give you guys a lot of credit for what you do. So yeah, together or side by side. Listen, that's just what it is. I mean, um, growing up as a kid in New York and then growing up on the island and now, being down south, I still love to connect, the East, uh, the North and the South. And, I'm fortunate to still be around a lot of Northerners, but this is my community. When I come here, I feel safe, I feel protected, and I want people around me to feel the same way. And so, listen, if I can create a little piece of that around here, I want that. And so for the people that do the good things, I want them around me, and the other ones, listen, whatever. The chips lay, it's whatever. Yeah, it's good to hear the positive vibes about New York. Listen, because you know what? There's a lot of people out there that bring it down. And so I don't like that. But like I watched a story yesterday and it breaks my heart because there was some guy. And so I was telling a girl yesterday, like, I want to start streaming, where I could bring up videos and stuff because I don't even know how to do that kind of stuff. People go like, "Oh my God, you're a moderator and you don't have." No, I don't. Hence why I'm not Ron's producer. We lost our producer Josh when he passed away. And I work. And so I don't have time to get up there, and I wish I could because I would do it for him. He knows I would. And so I don't work the computer side of things. And so I had to learn really quick. I had people helping me the other day to learn how to even just get this far, right? And so when we get like this, then we'll get even further, and we'll get there, and we'll do all the things, right? And we have a wonderful bunch of people that help out right now and help everybody and do. So I'm getting there to try to, just listen, I can hit the live button. Before I talked to myself for 10 minutes and I wasn't even live yet. So it's whatever. It's crazy. Yeah, see, listen, amazing aunt, like we're all learning it. I don't know it that well. I go into live chats and I talk to people and I'm like, "Yo, this is great. How you doing?" Like, "Hey, hit the like button." Like, but I'm all about bringing people together. So it's cool. I'm good with that. And so now here we are. Now we're on a live and I'm here, and I love you guys and I'm bringing good people together. So it's whatever. Like Judy Ron talks about his soxel. Oh my God. Talks about socks. Oh God. Well, the Ron, when he first came to this platform, and a lot of you guys that know him from way, way back, Joey knows him the most. Black Rose, you know him the most. Like Ron, when he first came around, he was even though he was retired from the NYPD, like Ron came around and he was like just talking from his car. He was just chill, you know what I mean? Like he was sitting at his kitchen table, like we would goof around and we would laugh. And then, he started throwing it into fifth gear and he started getting some equipment and started getting started getting serious and got a big, fancy microphone and doing all the things. And so listen, he's talented, he's good, and listen, he researches. He'll say he doesn't, but I know he does. but he's very good. Oh, sorry, I was just getting a package at the door. I was like, who's knocking? Oh my God. So anyway, what were we talking about? Yes, yes, friggin' package. Anyway, let's see here. Uh, yeah, you hear that? Jesus. Hang on a second. Let me just go grab that box really quick. It's raining out. Hang on. Ugh, so gross. All right. So anyway, yes, I know. I had to stir the soup too. Amazing Aunt, that's his brother Judy Ron, and I had in common we both worked New York in different capacities. I worked nights or 4 by 12. I had a bad habit of taking down doors for any call that was suspicious. Yeah, like I just want to know like what you guys did, how you did it, all of the things. Like, what you did for your job, like how, as a girl, like how you listen, I know that it's not different, but yeah, it's not always pretty, just I'm sure it's definitely, but it's so interesting to me, being in New York and having it such a listen, it's not easy. Sad mostly, but great group of cops, especially at night. Yes. And again, it's having a community, it's being together, and I'm sure it's not always bad things that you see. It's always helping people, doing things. But yeah, so anyway, I know I have to run because I have so much to do and I would love to sit here and keep talking to you guys, but I have to finish dinner. I have tons of laundry and stuff to do. But it was always so nice to come in. Look at Amazing Aunt was an assigned super at Baruch College. I know it well. I mean, there's just so many there's so many things that we can talk about that is about New York, and I love having you guys here as a part of the New York community and just all of the fun things that we can. I really appreciate all of you guys. It's really nice. It's very refreshing. It feels good for me to be able to talk. I've always been behind the scenes per se. I never really spoke, like, everybody would say like take a link, take I would never take a link. That's just it wasn't really my style. And so here I am. But on that note, I gotta fly. Joey, absolutely do a fireside chat, go live when it gets darker out. And everybody, listen, have an amazing Saturday. Have a great weekend. And I will catch you guys later. See, thanks again for coming in. Bye.